Hey Rob, how are you doing?
Good, Sarbjeet. How you doing?
Good, good, good. This week has been a great, busy week. So many events,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and we're planning to talk about MS Build mainly
Right,
here, right?
right. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And give me your lowdown from the event, and then there was some precursor to that by Jensen about that chip and the
Yeah,
new models and all that stuff. What's your take on that?
absolutely. Yeah, Build's a great event. I remember presenting at that, since I lived there for most of my career, right?
Yeah.
And so Build's a developer event, which grew out of what do we used to call that event a long time ago? Anyway, um, gosh,
Names change.
the names changed, just like Tech Ed changed to Ignite and stuff like that. You're right, names change. Yeah, so Build was in San Francisco in a weird location.
Oh,
Saw
well,
a
the best
lot.
location. Oh my God. It's
It
my
was
home.
no,
My
but the
Oh yeah.
facility
Oh
was
yeah.
very different.
Fort Mason. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, absolutely. A lot of people I knew there was like, I've never been here before. What is this place? Absolutely. They're not used to it. They were used to going to Moscone or something like that,
Oh
right?
yes. True.
Yeah, the big thing, I think the last three Build events, everything's just been about AI, 100%.
Yeah.
If you're going there to learn about the latest active server page web development, you're not going to get it.
Yeah. Active server pages.
You're not going to get it. If you want to learn about how to build Windows apps with VB, you're not going to get it. It's 100% AI. And so all the usual suspects, Satya does a great job. He'll be out there for 2 hours going and, bring out different product managers to different launches and product releases. But no doubt about it, going back down to the silicon, I think that the biggest notable thing that came out of there was this new chip created by our friends at NVIDIA and MediaTek,
Yeah.
actually. And actually, we learned about it Sunday night, Monday morning. Jensen was at Computex, in
Yes. Yes.
Taipei.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so he talked
I
about
was
this.
watching that at night live.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so we already kind of knew about it from there, but obviously that was the big talk track there. And so they brought Jensen on like everyone does. You got to have
Mhm.
Jensen on stage with you because that ups your score, right? You've got to have the guy with the black jacket. And so the key thing is we've had Intel chips forever. We had AMD take over Intel for a while when they came out with 64-bit, and then Intel came back at them. And then more recently, we had Windows running on ARM, and Qualcomm has had some good success with their Snapdragon Elite processors
Yeah.
to
That was.
because early versions of the ARM chips on Windows didn't run very well, aside from just not having compatibility with x86, right? And so, but now all of a sudden, you got NVIDIA coming out with this super powered chip that I forgot how was it 20 cores?
Yes.
Um,
20 cores. Yes.
yeah, absolutely. Blackwell
128
class.
gigabyte
Yeah, and
RAM.
also
That RAM is shared
it's huge.
between
It was
GPU
that.
and CPU is one chip, and the
That's
RAM is
right.
shared is crazy,
And that's
crazy
new for
specs.
Windows. The
Yeah.
Mac does that, the unified memory, but Windows always kept it separated. This will be the
Yes.
first time Windows is going to have that, which is going to be huge for that. Um, and obviously, it's Blackwell class, acceleration. And so we've never seen a chip like this. It's all in one chip. And so, yeah, Jensen's talking about it. They designed it, had MediaTek is manufacturing the chip. Um, and Satya was I think, they're coming out with these new laptops. Here's the new Surface Ultra running this new chip. And he made the comment, he goes, it's like being able to run an entire data center on your desktop or your laptop.
That's BS.
It could be BS, but it grabbed a
No,
lot
it
of
is.
attention, as you can imagine. And there was the talk track around. So far with this whole AI race, we've had everybody doing data center build outs, NVIDIA GPUs everywhere, Neo clouds doing their thing as well, spending a fortune. And a lot of people thinking that's how it happens. I've got to go to these guys or these hyperscalers to do my AI stuff. And then there's this other thing about, well, what about this private AI or enterprise AI, that kind of thing that I'm doing on-prem? And that's been around. That talk's been around. You know, but then, Satya really brought it home and was just he started talking about, you know how we've been talking about token economics and tokenomics and
Mm.
tokens per watt, per dollar, per blah blah blah. You know, Satya was just like, what if you had that whole data center on your desktop and you had downloaded your LLM? He even said something that was also kind of BS, running a 1 trillion parameter LLM on your desktop.
Yeah.
Um, Good luck with that, but you never know. And so the whole deal is like now I'm not paying money for tokens. It's right here. It's local. And I'm getting all the value out of that. And I have to admit, Jensen kind of chimed in along with that a little bit. I think what a lot of people don't realize is Jensen actually has a lot of love for Microsoft. Historically, he's been actually joined at the hip making
Yeah.
graphics cards for video games for DOS and then for Windows, and they worked together and created DirectX to
Yes,
make
DirectX. Yeah,
games
that's
run on Windows, and then DirectX enabled the Xbox, and NVIDIA and them work closely. And so he's got a long-term joined at the hip relationship with Microsoft and Windows. And obviously Satya wants Windows to feel more relevant, because I know sometimes Windows doesn't seem like the big deal that it used to be. Lots of people have moved to MacBooks and stuff like that. And so I think this gives them a shot in the arm. It almost reminds me, remember when Apple came out with Apple Silicon, in the M1? And that was a game changer. Much better performance than Intel, 18-hour battery life, and now we're on the M5, and it's incredible.
it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, but Windows hasn't had something like that. A few handful of people were getting the Qualcomm base ones, but it wasn't like a rocket ship or anything like that. This thing is unbelievable. Now, I'm sure if you're running that chip on a laptop, I can't imagine how bad the battery life must be.
You have to be plugged in all the time.
Probably, probably. And so they also said that, like usual, here they're going to have a developer, a dev box that people can buy, and people are getting on the waiting list. And even Satya says, I'm on the waiting list. I can hardly get one, so I can start developing on that.
That was a tease.
It was a tease, absolutely. And they're going to have some desktop machine. And I guess they'll have to put their money where their mouth is because, we analysts can sit there and say this is real, it's not real. But Dell, Lenovo, HP, Asus, all the usual suspects will be shipping laptops this fall with that chip on it. So we'll find out for real, I guess, if it's everything they think it is.
And also on the flip side, yeah, they're going to run Windows on DGX machine, which is
Yeah,
NVIDIA's like, little box, which is very strong. It's 5,000 a pop. So
right.
this PC will be also like 4 to 6,000
Yes,
a piece, and this is not for like everyday global developer like
right,
developers in India and other parts of the world.
right.
It's too pricey,
It's too
but
pricey.
it's power user pro dev kind of machine, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah,
And talking about the running the models on local machine, right? And calling it you're running the data center on your local machine. I think data center is data center. There's redundancy and at different levels. But your local machine is just local machine.
hmm
If it fell in water, you're hosed unless
yeah,
you have stuff in cloud or somewhere else
right.
like backups and all that stuff, right?
Yeah,
And then there's a design time versus runtime discussion.
yep,
Um, I think at design time, laptop is important, right? When you're creating applications. For
right.
runtime, most of the stuff is given to the world from the cloud, from central locations, from CDNs, from cloud.
Yeah,
So you're not going to, people are not going to come to your laptop's IP address and get all those services
probably
from
not.
you, right? So that's there as well.
Yeah,
And
that's a good point. You're right. You don't have that resiliency, that redundancy, failover, high availability. You're right.
yeah, you don't have
None of
those
that
things.
exists. That's a good
Yeah,
point.
I think these most of these tech leaders do broad stroking of ideas and without giving it a sort of deeper thought. And then we were talking before we started recording, the the BS meter or the like can I believe this person when they say something, that the gap between what reality is and what they are saying,
Hmm.
that's wide at times.
Yeah.
And in
Yeah.
this in this actually keynote, it was obvious that the gap was there. Like you can
Right.
smell it. A smart person can smell it. And
Yeah.
smart, you can't say smart, an experienced person can smell it.
Right.
But the
Right.
rookies may believe it, right? But that's fine. I think
Yeah.
that they want to be salesy and all that.
Sure.
But did you notice that in the podcast, they put it out there as well? I don't know if you watched it or not.
Mm-mm.
The podcast that he was totally flipped. So on the keynote stage, he's like, okay, this PC is it, client, edge, AI on the edge, and all that stuff. But
Right.
when he was talking on the podcast, he said, "Oh, people are buying servers like crazy. They're not going to run stuff from their own data center let alone your PC. So
Yeah.
it was kind of flip actually, because the questions were coming more from the current scenario, how we are serving the AI to the masses, right? AI is
Right.
highly concentrated right now.
It is.
Like, what's your take,
Absolutely.
like concentration? Okay, let me put it this way. When we were doing client server computing, we came from the PC world, and all of a sudden the data centers were built. And then from data centers, they were still distributed. Like every company had their own data center. Then
Right.
the compute got sucked into cloud, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we went from decentralized compute to centralized compute, but AI starts with totally from the centralized place, from data center, huge data centers,
Right.
humongous.
Right.
That's another top level of sort of complexity and discussion,
Yeah.
talking about AI data centers. So they're all centralized, and they have hold of few companies on them, right?
That's right.
So OpenAI, Anthropic, even Amazon, Google, all
Yeah.
these names,
Right.
Microsoft. So anybody who can put all that capex up out there, right? So
Right.
now, likes of Satya, likes of Jensen, because in their interest, they're trying to decentralize it. What's your take?
That's an interesting take on that, decentralizing it. So breaking it back up apart. Kind of like when we went from mainframes to having a compact desk pro on your
Yeah.
machine, on your desk, running Lotus
We
123
are
or
that
something.
old people.
We are that old. Exactly. I know we both look like we're 25, but we are that old. Um, no, well, you know what? Because they may be listening to some trends. They may be hearing from some crazy analysts like us. Right now, based on numbers I see, about 70% of enterprise data is still on-prem somewhere.
Yeah.
It's not in the cloud, even though we've been doing the cloud for quite a long time. And you'll see, like when we talk to, there's the hyperscalers, and then there's all the other tech players who aren't that, like HP, Lenovo, Dell, Supermicro, all those guys. And what are they all doing? They're all building liquid cooled servers. They actually really there's this narrative around enterprise AI that says you've got your private corporate data and you don't want that data to leak into a public LLM somewhere in the cloud because then
Yeah, makes sense.
other people will know about it. And so they're spending a lot of time again building these liquid cooled servers, be able to do rack density, things like just exactly the same way the hyperscalers are doing it or the neo clouds are doing it, but they want you to do it in your own data center, your colo. And so there's that narrative. I'm not saying it's taking off like wildfire,
But
but
it
there's
won't,
something
because
to
it
it.
won't because the problem at the core is the same thing. Like earlier, even today, there's virtual private clouds on AWS
Hmm.
and at Google and Azure. So nobody else can see your data anyways, even in cloud, right?
Right, right. I guess there's this notion though that I'm running big enterprise X, and I want to create my own super intelligence about my company. And
Mhm.
so I'm going to buy that infrastructure gear. It's going to be in my data center. I'm going to download a pre-trained model like Llama or whatever. And then I'm going to fine tune, RAG my corporate data to train that and be really smart about my domain stuff. Now, obviously, all the other cloud players and AI players are saying, yes, you can do that today. And we promise that your data won't go into our LLM. Some people believe that. Some CEOs are worried about that. And
Yeah,
so
but
who
that's a
knows?
that's a model problem. That's a model problem, training problem. And that's like how you marry the data with an existing model. That's a different problem. It's not cloud or on-prem problem. I don't think it that way. If the model was sitting in your data center,
Yeah,
right, and then still, if that model is getting enriched in you think you will never update that model? Like, how will you update that model? How will you switch that? That actually switching of the models is such a big problem right now.
sure. Yeah,
So there's
that's
a
fair.
actually all in all, we are missing the middleware of AI stack. There's no
Yeah, I think
middleware.
you're
There's no
right.
caching. There's no caching of even the context, which should be cached most of the
Yeah.
time. Um, and we are, I think at times I feel like this is like 94, 95 moment of what we had for internet.
Yeah,
And that's this time, this year is that for AI, like 26.
it could
Like we
be.
don't have all these facilities to like what we built over next couple of decades, right?
That's a good point. And so you could think back, so what is Satya and Jensen thinking this with this chip? And are they having a flashback to 1994 or 95? And it was PCs that turned into PC servers, which turned into the mainstream servers that power the entire internet today.
Yeah.
Maybe they're replaying that movie in their head again, and saying, can we do it again? Are we going to build chips that are so powerful and it's this big, and all of a sudden, power to the people, and
Yeah.
we're going to give it to, and it's going to be a new market to sell, a new TAM? Because clearly, Jensen's thinking, and you probably, I'm sure you read the same stuff. PC CPU shipments, that the TAM for that is like 200 billion or something like that. And all of a sudden, now NVIDIA is saying, we're here to play against AMD and Intel, and Qualcomm and others. And we're going to beat all of them because we think we're smarter than they are. We'll find out, right?
We'll
Um,
find out.
yeah.
Actually, there's a I try to come up with all these one-liners and I try to mull over these ideas. My mind never stops and I'm thinking 24 hours, just like you. So I usually say the bigger the system, more self-healing it is.
Yeah.
And this tech world is so big and huge, it will self-heal.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is that no one vendor or even a couple of vendors getting it together can pull it certain other way, right?
Yeah.
It has a system has shock absorbers built into it, you know.
That's a good point.
If we go too much towards the client, then we'll say, oh no, no, we have to go towards the server. And
Yeah.
if we go too much on cloud, oh no, we got to go a little bit to the left to the private data centers, and vice versa, right? So we will have that balance because there's so many people involved and so much money involved, so many
Yeah.
entities involved, so many governments, regulators, you name it.
Yeah.
Everybody's involved in
That's a
this.
good point. So I can see how they could take advantage of this new chip and give them what you want. Here's our new prediction.
What is that?
All right. You've heard of Azure Local,
Yeah,
potentially. Okay. And obviously AWS has Outposts. I think Oracle's probably done the best job with their dedicated region and Alloy. There's companies that have, I guess they can do it on their entire cloud in 3 racks. And then there's actually companies who can with using Oracle Alloy, brand it as if it's their own cloud, and then give it to the world. So
yeah.
Azure Local had a big upgrade about a month ago, a month and a half ago, where it can now support thousands of servers. And so now, and you've seen videos. I mean, take heterogeneous. I could take a HP box and a Lenovo box or whatever, and I plug in a USB stick, and it downloads Azure or some part of Azure to your these servers, PC servers, basically. and builds out Azure, and then you have the same dashboard and everything. So now I'm imagining Azure local. I could fill my whole data center with Azure local servers. It's my Azure. It's so I can have that. Remember, because what's the biggest thing in Europe right now? Data sovereignty, digital
Yeah.
sovereignty, all that stuff. So it's a thing. It's a, and so I could imagine these new superpowered chips with Azure local in my own data center, and now I've got my superpowered private cloud sovereign in Europe.
No, no,
Training
actually
models.
that's a good point. That's that can be their thinking, which everybody wants to control the world, of course, right?
Sure,
So, but the thing is this, I studied economics, and my theories of economics, which I sort of validated time and again in other domains, and we are talking about tech domain right now, is that you can't beat a couple of things in economics. One is economies of scale, right? And the second is specialization. We call it division of labor, and so, economists have their own
of
freaking
course.
terminology. We call it
Yes.
division of labor. It's like specialization. Like
Yeah.
if like you you can specialize building DPU as a when you have scale. You know,
Yeah.
you and I know that how much innovation has happened because of a cloud players.
Yeah.
The DPU came from there. All these NPUs, when you operate anything at scale, you shave milliseconds out of all these transactions, and that's where the economics comes from. I worked
Yeah.
for a couple of cloud providers, and so I know that for sure. Running the data centers is number one, like scale any cloud provider needs to have. At
Yeah.
scale, it means efficiently, right? So
Right.
saving a little bit from the electricity,
Hmm.
from cooling, all these different areas. That's how they increase their margins, right?
Right. Right.
But when you go to enterprise, our utilization rates on the compute side are at best around between 20 to 25%. On the storage, they are below that, right? For sure.
Yeah.
Um, I've seen it. I have done data center audits of millions of servers when I was at EMC. I've seen
Yeah.
the
I
utilizations and
mean,
everything.
what you're saying is what gave rise to VMware
Yes.
and virtualization, underutilized servers.
But even the VMs, there are so many VMs running and nobody knows like they're there. So
Right.
like, we waste a lot of compute, storage, and of course, along with that network capacity in our data centers because we can't do capacity planning properly, right? But the
Hmm.
whole idea behind cloud is like the demand curve and the supply curve hug each other, right? So, and
Yes.
when you don't need something, you can get rid of it. Of course,
Yeah.
it's easier said than done. You get the most benefit of cloud when you're cloud native, but cloud native is not a Boolean term, anyways. So I can talk about that in my sleep. So
Absolutely.
yeah. But anyways, so let's don't go into tangent. But what I'm trying to say is that the cloud will play a role. The AI will be centralized to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Yes, the data leakage part is there, and then I think the sovereignty, data sovereignty play is intensified by the likes of our President Trump, and then everybody else is mimicking him. That America first, China says China first, Europe says Europe first. So we are sort of unreeling from capitalism or not capitalism, globalization,
Globalization. You're right. We're
globalization,
kind of unwinding
unwinding from
all this
globalization, and
stuff we've been
partly
doing
from
for decades. Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
because part of the capitalist society is globalization. So like you want to make things where they're cheaper to make, kind of thing.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's I think yeah,
And so
these
this
are
kind of blows apart smart economic decisions. Like an economist would say, you would never do this because you're going to make it more expensive for you to operate. And these people will say, maybe I don't care. Maybe some other factor is more important to me than cost. I don't know.
yeah, no, no, in some cases it is, but it's not that much cases where we are telling the world that it is. So we are sort of there's a book on this called narrative economics, right? So we we means like society or some parts of society will build narratives to cause economic activity, and
Hmm.
narratives actually get built, or stereotypes you can sometimes you can call them. They get built with a good purpose, but at some point they start doing a disservice to the industry. You know, they
Mm, okay.
flip. So then you're if you follow the narrative, then you're losing. In the beginning, your narrative is good for you, like oh, it will save you from all kind of troubles. But
Yeah.
at some point, it flips because people take advantage of
Sure.
everything out there. So they will take advantage of the narrative as well.
You're right.
The narrative of data sovereignty is good. It started with good. Like you don't want your private data going somewhere else, and a nation doesn't want their, secrets stolen, stuff like that.
Right.
But then when it gets overblown, then you're losing. Then you're putting everything in like smaller hidden places, and then now you're bogged down and to protect that stuff, and you can't do
Right.
anything, right?
Yeah.
So.
That's a
Yeah,
good point.
that's what happened to Europe actually. Europe
Yeah.
is they follow the narratives like there's no tomorrow or something. I
Yeah.
don't
That's a good point.
know.
Excellent. Well, this was a
Yeah,
good
actually,
discussion.
yeah. I think let's wrap this up. Like, just give me your like departing words. How you see this panning out? I know you live in Seattle, so you might be a little Microsoft Pro or something. I live in Bay Area, so I'm like I'm close to Google and others here.
I
So
understand.
yeah,
Yes. And believe it or
we have
not,
loyalty to some like
no, no,
loyalty
it's
to our
okay.
region.
No, no. You know what? Breaking news. I've moved to Texas
What? When?
over the late last fall.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, yeah, you told me. Actually, how did I
Yeah.
forget that?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? I know. They have sun here. It's weird.
Little too much
Yeah,
sometimes.
maybe sometimes. Um, yeah, my takeaway is wait and see. You know, it's exciting. The chip is a remarkable way they've compressed so many different technologies that NVIDIA has done over the years, all into one chip with the help of MediaTek.
Yeah,
It's going to bring something to Windows that Windows has never seen before, but it could
that's
be really
great.
expensive. We'll have to see. We're going to see a lot of laptops, and so you and I will have to play with those things and take them for a spin. Because I think we've year after year we've been getting when you get a new Windows laptop, for instance, at work or whatever, and I can't tell the difference in performance year after year. It still seems the same. And
Yeah,
so I'm looking forward to that jolt that Apple got when they started doing the M1 and beyond there. So yeah, it could be exciting, and then it could lead to servers, and it could lead to a lot of other things, stepping stones. Because NVIDIA can't, just like we were saying when we were before we started recording, all these there's these windows of time that these big trends happen, but they don't last forever. And so when you make this roadmap that says I'm going to be a $10 trillion GPU company by this date, that's not real. At
yeah,
some point, competitors show up, back to
yeah,
economies of scale. How you do it becomes commoditized, and you're not special anymore. You get to be special with something new for a period of time, but it doesn't last forever. And so Jensen's a smart guy. He's looking for new areas. Satya needs some new, have we exhausted the TAM for cloud computing? I don't know. But if all of a sudden I can breathe life back into Windows and PCs and then maybe PC servers again with a new kind of chip, who knows? We might create new TAMs out of it. I don't know. But it's always exciting stuff to play around with.
yeah, yeah. That's a great summary, actually. I was thinking about this yesterday. Like, if cloud is an operating system, right?
Hmm.
Who has the best operating system? Tell
Well,
me.
Windows NT, of course.
No, 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 no. If cloud If
Yeah.
cloud was the best operating system, I think AWS
Oh,
has the best operating system. If cloud is the operating system, and I think slow and steady wins the race. I think AWS will do great. Of course, Microsoft hold on the PC OS, which is sort of loved by so many. I tried switching to a Mac, to be honest with you, many
yeah.
times. And he couldn't, so every time I
Mm,
would give up because I couldn't I mean,
yeah.
figure out this, like, where do I put the files,
I
properly?
don't know. Where the heck are the files? But
Yeah,
that's a
it's
good
just
point,
one blob, like, what is this?
Yeah.
They didn't do a
AWS
good job
built
of that.
AWS
But
built their cloud on open source technology. They used Zen and open source virtualization, commodity servers. Microsoft invented their cloud with their own technology that they invented. The same guy who invented Windows NT, Dave Cutler from Digital,
yeah,
was brought back out of retirement by Ballmer and Satya to come develop Azure, the project Red Dog. And
yeah. I mean, yeah. When
the
I was
the,
at
the
Rackspace, we were number two cloud after AWS.
yeah,
And there was
absolutely,
no
Rex.
cl zero cloud from Microsoft. They came from
Yeah,
behind and they got the second spot.
yeah.
And then Google had
Google.
App
Google came
Engine.
and went. I never understood what their
Google had
strategy
App Engine.
was.
App Engine
They
was
had
not
App
cloud.
Engine.
So
Yeah,
nobody wants to write to your APIs.
yeah,
People want that rawness. Okay, the more pro coder or pro coding company you are, you can be a typical enterprise, but a big enterprise actually always acts like an ISV. I always say that
yeah.
they act like an independent software vendor, right?
Right.
So all ISVs love primitives. All
Yes.
big companies love primitives.
Yeah.
So there's a place for good cloud operating system, any sort of day of the year. And going
Yeah.
forward, I think for next 10 years at least, maybe more, that will stay true. But of course, there's a place for private data centers, but don't fall for this FUD thing. I think I will sort of advise people, like, yeah, just put. You can't put. Long ago, I said you can't put your diamonds in the same place where you're putting your shoes, right? Like you
True.
store things according to the importance and the value.
Yeah.
So not everything needs to go to this pristine place and all that stuff. So with that said, we can talk about this for hours. Actually,
Absolutely.
we should do a long form,
We'll do a long form.
like a
Yeah.
2 hour long,
Yeah.
session maybe
Yeah.
sometime. We can't do that.
We can do that. We have all that. We could
Thanks,
rattle
Rob.
on forever.
Great talking to you always.
Good talking to you. Absolutely.
Thank you. We'll wrap up here. Thanks for folks for listening. You know where to find Rob: LinkedIn, Twitter. Same here. Thank you. So that was good.
That was fun. Absolutely. Good stuff, man.